Imagine waking up one morning and suddenly struggling to remember how to operate your coffee maker, the same one you've used every day for the past decade. Or finding yourself mid-conversation with a dear friend when their name inexplicably vanishes from your mind, leaving you flustered and embarrassed. These aren't just harmless senior moments that can be laughed off, they could very well be the earliest warning signs of a devastating yet completely preventable form of cognitive decline that's silently affecting millions of older adults worldwide. At the root of this crisis lies a single, shockingly common nutritional deficiency that most doctors aren't testing for until it's too late: vitamin B12 deficiency. The human brain is an extraordinarily complex and delicate organ that relies on a constant supply of essential nutrients to maintain its intricate networks and billions of neural connections. Among all these vital nutrients, vitamin B12 stands out as absolutely indispensable for preserving cognitive function as we age. This unassuming water-soluble vitamin, also known by its scientific name cobalamin, serves as the unsung hero of neurological health, performing several absolutely critical functions that quite literally keep our minds sharp and our memories intact. First and foremost, B12 acts as a guardian of the myelin sheath, the protective fatty coating that surrounds our nerve fibers, much like the rubber insulation around electrical wires. This myelin enables the lightning-fast transmission of signals between brain cells that allows us to think, remember, and react with speed and precision. Without adequate B12 supplies, this protective coating begins to deteriorate, leaving our neural pathways exposed and dysfunctional. Imagine trying to send an electrical current through a frayed, damaged wire, and you'll understand why B12 deficiency can have such devastating neurological consequences. But the vital importance of B12 doesn't stop there. This remarkable vitamin also serves as a master regulator of homocysteine, an amino acid that at elevated levels acts like corrosive acid to brain tissue, directly contributing to the brain shrinkage and neuronal damage we see in dementia patients. Furthermore, B12 plays an indispensable role in DNA synthesis within our neurons, meaning that without it, our brain cells literally lose their ability to properly maintain and repair themselves. The terrifying reality is that when B12 levels drop below a certain threshold, our brains essentially begin to short-circuit from the inside out. Nerve cells lose their protective coating, critical messages between neurons slow to a crawl or get lost entirely, and toxic homocysteine accumulates unchecked, creating the perfect storm for rapid cognitive decline. What makes this situation particularly tragic is that unlike Alzheimer's disease, which develops through complex pathological processes over many years, B12 deficiency dementia can strike with alarming speed, yet is often completely reversible if identified and treated promptly. Understanding exactly why B12 deficiency becomes such a pervasive threat after age 60 requires examining several physiological changes that occur as part of the normal aging process. One of the most significant factors is a condition called atrophic gastritis, where the stomach lining gradually thins and weakens over time. This matters enormously because healthy stomach cells produce both hydrochloric acid and a special protein called intrinsic factor, two substances absolutely essential for extracting B12 from our food and preparing it for absorption in the small intestine. Research shows that by age 70, between 30 to 50% of older adults produce insufficient stomach acid to properly liberate B12 from the protein bonds in food, while many simultaneously fail to produce adequate intrinsic factor to transport the vitamin across the intestinal wall. The result is what doctors call food-bound B12 malabsorption, where even seniors consuming theoretically adequate amounts of B12 in their diet may still become dangerously deficient because their bodies can no longer properly extract and utilize the vitamin. Making matters worse, many commonly prescribed medications dramatically exacerbate this absorption problem. Acid-reducing drugs like proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, and H2 blockers, which millions of seniors take for heartburn and GERD, intentionally suppress stomach acid production, the very acid needed to release B12 from food proteins. Studies have shown that long-term PPI users have a 65% higher risk of developing B12 deficiency compared to non-users. Similarly, the diabetes medication metformin, taken by nearly one-third of American seniors, has been shown to interfere with calcium-dependent B12 absorption in the gut, with some research indicating that up to 30% of long-term metformin users develop deficiency. Even something as seemingly innocuous as regular nitrous oxide exposure, from dental procedures or recreational use, can inactivate B12 stores by oxidizing cobalt atoms at the vitamin's core. Dietary changes that commonly occur with aging further compound the problem. Many seniors naturally gravitate towards softer, blander foods as their sense of taste diminishes and dental issues make chewing difficult. Others reduce meat consumption due to financial constraints or decreased appetite. The unfortunate reality is that plant foods contain essentially zero bioavailable B12, while some fermented foods and algae may contain B12 analogues. These are largely inactive forms that can actually block absorption of the real vitamin. Research shows that even lacto-ovo vegetarians, who consume dairy and eggs, have 4 times higher rates of deficiency than meat eaters, while vegans are almost universally deficient unless they supplement religiously. For seniors who have undergone certain abdominal surgeries, the risk becomes even more severe. Weight loss procedures like gastric bypass intentionally reroute food around the portion of small intestine where B12 absorption occurs, while intestinal resections, common in cancer treatment, may remove the critical ileum region altogether. Perhaps most insidious is the autoimmune condition called pernicious anemia, where the body's own immune system mistakenly attacks and destroys the stomach cells that produce intrinsic factor. Affecting approximately 2% of the elderly population, pernicious anemia often goes undiagnosed for years as its symptoms are frequently mistaken for normal aging or other conditions. The symptoms of B12 deficiency creep in so gradually that most people, and even their doctors, dismiss them as inevitable consequences of growing older. Early warning signs include persistent brain fog that worsens as the day progresses, peculiar tingling or pins and needles sensations in the hands and feet, unexplained fatigue that persists despite adequate sleep, and mild depression that doesn't respond to standard antidepressants. More concerning symptoms include subtle balance problems, often misattributed to just getting clumsy, loss of smell and taste acuity, and those frightening short-term memory lapses where familiar names and words suddenly vanish from recall. The true tragedy lies in what happens when these early red flags are ignored. Over time, the neurological damage progresses to full-blown dementia symptoms including profound disorientation, severe memory impairment, personality changes, and eventually loss of independent functioning. What makes this progression so heartbreaking is that by the time these advanced symptoms appear, much of the neurological damage may be irreversible even with aggressive B12 treatment. Diagnosing B12 deficiency presents its own set of challenges that lead to countless missed cases. The standard serum B12 blood test that most doctors rely on is notoriously unreliable, frequently returning normal results even when cellular deficiency exists. This occurs because the test measures total B12 in the bloodstream without distinguishing between active and inactive forms. A person could have normal total B12 levels but still be functionally deficient if most of that B12 is bound to proteins and unavailable for use. Far more accurate are the methylmalonic acid (MMA) test, which rises when B12 levels are inadequate, and the homocysteine test, where elevated levels strongly suggest B12 deficiency. The most cutting-edge test, holotranscobalamin, HoloTC, measures only the biologically active portion of B12 that's actually available for cells to use. For seniors diagnosed with B12 deficiency, prompt and aggressive treatment can mean the difference between complete recovery and permanent neurological damage. The gold standard protocol begins with high-dose supplementation using methylcobalamin, the active form of B12, rather than the cheaper cyanocobalamin found in most supplements. Those with neurological symptoms typically require intramuscular B12 injections to bypass absorption issues entirely. A standard regimen might involve 1,000 micrograms injections daily for the first week, then weekly for a month, followed by monthly maintenance doses. Simultaneously, patients should work to correct dietary deficiencies by incorporating B12's rich foods like pasture-raised eggs, where the B12 is concentrated in the yolk, wild-caught salmon and sardines, grass-fed beef and liver, nature's most concentrated source of bioavailable B12, and fortified nutritional yeast. Supporting nutrients like methylfolate, the active form of folic acid, betaine, TMG, to help lower homocysteine levels, and omega-3 fatty acids to support myelin repair should also be included in the treatment plan. Prevention remains far superior to treatment when it comes to B12 deficiency. All adults over 60 should obtain baseline MMA and homocysteine tests even if they feel perfectly healthy. Those taking acid-reducing medications or metformin should strongly consider preventive B12 supplementation regardless of test results. After age 70, annual B12 injections may be prudent even for those without obvious symptoms, given how common malabsorption becomes in later life. Dietary strategies should focus on consuming B12's rich foods at least 3 times weekly, with particular attention to preparation methods that maximize bioavailability, for example, lightly cooking eggs rather than consuming them raw, or choosing meat preparations that don't require prolonged high heat which can destroy B12. The hopeful truth that all seniors need to hear is that unlike Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia with complex, poorly understood causes, B12 deficiency dementia can often be completely halted and frequently reversed if caught within the first 6 to 12 months of symptom onset. Research from leading institutions like the Mayo Clinic has shown that approximately 75% of patients experience significant cognitive improvement with proper B12 treatment, especially when intervention occurs early in the disease process. This makes B12 deficiency one of the few truly reversible causes of cognitive decline in older adults, a fact that makes the current epidemic of undiagnosed cases all the more tragic. In a healthcare system that too often dismisses cognitive changes in seniors as inevitable consequences of aging, it falls to individuals and their families to advocate for proper B12 testing and treatment. Don't accept it's just normal aging as an explanation for memory lapses or neurological symptoms. Insist on comprehensive testing including MMA and homocysteine levels. If you're taking medications known to interfere with B12 absorption, be proactive about supplementation before problems arise. And if you or a loved one are diagnosed with deficiency, commit fully to the treatment protocol. The difference between half measures and aggressive treatment could literally determine whether you spend your golden years with a sharp, vibrant mind or in the fog of preventable dementia. The hopeful reality is that unlike Alzheimer's, B12 deficiency dementia is often completely reversible if caught early. Mayo Clinic research shows 75% of patients improve with proper treatment, especially when intervention occurs within the first year of symptoms. This makes the current epidemic of undiagnosed cases particularly tragic. In a healthcare system that often dismisses cognitive changes as normal aging, individuals must advocate for proper B12 testing. Don't accept memory lapses as inevitable. Insist on comprehensive testing including MMA and homocysteine. If taking medications that interfere with B12 absorption, be proactive about supplementation. And if diagnosed with deficiency, commit fully to treatment. The difference could determine whether you spend your golden years with a sharp mind or in preventable cognitive decline. Your brain is your most precious asset, protected by ensuring optimal B12 status. The quality of your future may depend on actions you take today. With proper awareness and proactive management, we can turn the tide on this silent epidemic robbing seniors of their memories and independence. You deserve to enjoy your golden years with a sharp mind, playing cards with friends, sharing stories with grandkids, or just savoring a good book. But vitamin B12 deficiency, a sneaky problem affecting nearly 40% of seniors, could be stealing your memory and independence, mimicking dementia when it's actually preventable. We've covered why B12 is critical for your brain, how aging and meds make deficiency common, and the warning signs like brain fog, tingling, or forgetting simple things. Now, let's wrap this up with a clear plan to protect your mind and live longer with a vibrant, healthy brain. Start today, don't wait for symptoms to worsen. Ask your doctor for a full B12 check, including tests like methylmalonic acid, MMA, and homocysteine, not just the standard blood test, which can miss problems. If you're on meds like acid reducers or metformin, or if you eat less meat, talk about B12 supplements or injections to stay safe. Add B12-rich foods to your diet. Eggs, salmon, or beef liver are great, and cook them lightly to keep the vitamin intact. If you're vegetarian or vegan, a daily B12 supplement is a must, as plants don't provide it. Keep an eye out for early signs like tiredness, mood changes, or balance issues, and don't brush them off as just aging. Share this with your family or friends, get them to check their B12 too, and support each other to stay sharp. Track your symptoms in a notebook and show it to your doc, it helps them act fast. If you're diagnosed, stick to treatment. High-dose supplements or injections can reverse damage if caught early, with 75% of people improving, per Mayo Clinic research. Don't let a fixable problem rob you of your memories. Got a story about B12 or memory struggles? Drop it in the comments, your experience could inspire someone else. If this video opened your eyes, hit the thumbs up, it helps more seniors hear this message. Subscribe and tap the bell for weekly tips to thrive in your 70s and beyond. Thanks for watching Healthful Living 60+. Take charge of your brain health, live long, and we'll see you next time.